And again, the future's here. It's just unevenly distributed. We wouldn't have a forecast with examples if there weren't people doing these things. But at what point, and this is our challenge to our audiences, is at what point do you create a tipping point? Because, this lone little foundation in Cincinnati, Ohio, is not going to create the tipping point with an endowment shrinking every day that, used to be $200 million. So our charge is to go around and talk to people about the future. So you guys who create these services, schools that are doing the teaching, create this teaching moment, create this tipping point, because you're right. There are examples of it. So, sometimes when I look at the future, I go, sounds a lot like progressive education to me. So, is the future really the future, or is it actually maybe take us back to Mr. John Dewey?
See another hand.
So, a few years ago, I started my company 5 years ago. I started doing online education and got wrapped up in the homeschool market.
I heard that, yeah.
And I started with the same mind that most people do, thinking that, goodness, this is going to be a weird group, backwards, inward-looking group of people. And that only exists. But a surprising amount are people who have backed up against the institutions when a child is square or round and contemplating peg, and this doesn't work.
Yep.
And the mother in endless meetings at the school explaining, look, I told you, if you treat my kid that way in front of class, he will act out. I'm sorry if you think that of a kid, but look at my And then one day she has an aha moment, and they go off and they homeschool. Now what's interesting is the first thing they do is they try to recreate school at home.
Yeah, that's really
And then a few years later, or a few months later, they have an aha moment of, goodness, I didn't like the schools when they did. I like even less what I'm doing. And then there's this 1,000 blossoms bloom. They unschool, they do child-directed learning, they do unit studies. Many stats are that the homeschooling movement outtests the people in schools. And they certainly aren't teaching the test.
Right.
I mean, they are dismissive of the test in general. So in terms of where the future might be, another whole approach, oddly enough, is an entirely different non-institutional environment.
Absolutely.
With the parents as coordinators, they use a lot of institutions to teach women.
Exactly.
They provide a service in, but they are great moderators. And they take their kids right through high school and college.
Yep.
Certainly most moms can't teach a high school curriculum at all.
Right.
But it's a phenomenal example. They're 100% wide.
Yeah.
Unlike traditional schools where it's still newsworthy when they give every kid a computer.
Yeah.
They're many years behind where the homeschool movement is.
It is. Yeah, I think that is such a great and powerful story, and I agree 100%. So when you think about the future, when I said, when you think about 2020, will there be schools as we know them? Because in reality, and when you have time to explore the map, we've got this right-hand column side called learning agents. And it's about the different roles that maybe we don't have teachers as we know them. Instead, we have learning agents. And learning agents might be like, there's one called the education surveyor. And what they do is they kind of go broker. Now, this is the good stuff in our community, and this is the bad stuff. And a couple of the other titles are, the learning fitness instructor, that they're just responsible for the brain fitness issue. And then we have our personal education advisor. We have our community intelligence cartographer who's going to go out and, again, say which are good and which are bad and bring them. And a lot of the homeschool parents are already doing this. But if you imagine the future, and again, look on our web for more work on this. It's called the learning economy, and there's a paper on it. And it's basically saying that we live in a world now where I never have to go to school. My parent, my personal advisor, my hired person can manage and navigate my whole learning experience without me ever touching school, as we know it. I can do, some of the homeschoolers are now doing a couple classes through the virtual online schools. A couple of them are going to the museum schools. A couple of them do the study abroad programs. Now this sounds elite, and we have an equity issue. Now, instead, what you do is how do you create this smart localism, and you build a community to go out there and create these opportunities for individuals and to be the advocates. And so that's a little bit of smart localism. And we also have this thing in the map that's called learning deserts and learning oasis. And where do I go find where the learning oases are, and how do I avoid the learning deserts? But your homeschooling story is a perfect example of so many parts of the map. Smart localism, shadow schools, all of that. And again, will we have two systems running in parallel? Will one go higher than the other? Will one break? Will one transition over to that next world? I mean, that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. We have a couple more minutes. Bernie's ready to.
I think we're at the 5-minute, no, yes. We're at the time desert.